Thank you very much for joining us. Intense fighting has broken out overnight between Armenia and Azerbaijan along their border. Leaders are working to stabilize the situation, and there are reports of a shaky ceasefire. The battle took place near the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region. Armenia says the Azeri army began shelling towards military positions around 3 cities. But Azerbaijan says it was responding to a buildup of Armenian landmines and weapons. It's the latest flare-up in the fighting after a ceasefire ended a 6-week war in 2020. Joining us now on Al Jazeera is Richard Giragosian, who's the director of the think tank Regional Studies Center. He's live from the Armenian capital, Yerevan. Thank you very much for being with us, Richard. So we have each side right now accusing the other of starting these latest hostilities. Why? Why now? What sparked this recent flare-up?
Well, I think there are 2 important drivers. The first is, of course, Russian weakness. And after the failed adventure of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Russia is much less perceived as a broker or mediator, and very much encouraging Azerbaijan to move forward with force of arms. What we saw last night, however, was a serious escalation, but it's also an expansion geographically, where the attacks were targeting Armenia proper. This has nothing to do with the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict itself.
Interesting. Well, tell us a bit more about the area where this recent fighting is taking place. It's not over Nagorno-Karabakh. Where is it happening and why those specific areas?
Well, these are parts of southern Armenia that are now subject to artillery and mortar attacks by Azerbaijan. The reason is, in many ways, Azerbaijan has dangerously had an incomplete victory in the 2020 war. It did not fully win control of Nagorno-Karabakh. The recent escalation, therefore, for political purposes within Azerbaijan, offers important dividends for the Azerbaijani leadership. But for Armenia, this is especially daunting because the attacks are recklessly indiscriminate. The civilian casualties are equal to the military loss of life.
Well, we have no information right now on those civilian casualties, no confirmed reports at least. There were Russian peacekeepers along the border there, but I understand they've been replaced. Who's replaced them? Who's keeping the peace right now, if anyone?
Well, no one is. In fact, there is a missing or an absence of deterrence that actually also explains the timing and context of this attack, where without deterrence, no one and nothing is stopping Azerbaijan. The Russian peacekeepers, however, are distinctly separate. They're deployed in Nagorno-Karabakh, far from the area of operations. And a few Russian border guards in southern Armenia are completely insufficient to prevent and halt the escalation.
So what happens next, do you think? What happens now? How do we de-escalate the tensions?
Well, after 10 hours of fighting, of sustained attacks by Azerbaijan, in the past 2 hours, we've seen early attempts at brokering a ceasefire, and Russia has been facilitating. The first, only 2 hours ago, was a failed attempt. However, within the past 60 minutes, we do see a new imperative to actually climb down and step back from the brink.
You say Russia has been facilitating this latest ceasefire, but as you said earlier yourself, Russia has been tied up with the conflict in Ukraine. They are distracted with the conflict in Ukraine. Do you get a sense of whether we'll see more Russian involvement this time around, as was the case in 2020?
Well, I think in general, the Russian position is largely defined by weakness, not strength, and insecurity, not confidence. But I do think diplomatically, what's needed is a return to the negotiating table and a message to Azerbaijan that there is no military solution to this conflict. And neither blaming the victim or any kind of false parody will help.
Thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you, Richard Giragosian, director of the think tank Regional Studies Center in Yerevan there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Ahmad Shahidov is an Azerbaijan-based political analyst. He blames Armenia for the latest flare-up.
Large-scale offensive operation against the Azerbaijani army have began in the direction of Kalbajar and Lachin regions of the border. And in response to this, the Azerbaijani army started counter-offensive operations, and now the clashes on the state border are underway, and the Azerbaijani army has suffered losses, and this provocation by the Armenian side will be given a very strong response. And these provocations are carried out purposely and are calculated to delay the signing of the peace agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia, because on August 31, a meeting between Ilham Aliyev and Nikol Pashinyan was held in Brussels, and it was agreed to draft a peace treaty, a peace agreement between the two countries. And I think that it seems in order to violate this agreement, the Armenian authorities, the revanchist groups inside the Armenian authorities resorted to this provocation at the state border once again.